Hello everyone, this is Harsha and welcome back to my Jekyll tutorial series. Last time we have seen how to install Jekyll on Windows. Now in this video we are going to create a very basic template for our Jekyll blog. So let's get started. First of all, we need a directories to store our project files. So I am having a directory here. This is I named it Jekyll blog and this is where we are going to create our directory structure. And we also need a command prompt instance to run Jekyll commands. So go to the address bar and type cmd to start the command prompt in our working directory. Actually, it is possible to ask Jekyll to create a sample website for you. So to do that, enter the following command: Jekyll space new space dot. And when you run this, Jekyll will create a sample website. It will create a sample directory structure which consists a sample post, a sample page, and an index page. Though this is very basic and the sample website works fine, we are going to create the directory structures ourselves so we can understand Jekyll better. So go on and delete all these files. You can consider Jekyll as a text transformation engine as described by its documentation. It takes some text files, whether they may be Markdown, HTML, textile, and combines them with CSS to do the styling and produces a website made of complete static HTML pages. So give you an example, I will show you my website. This is my website is goharsha.com and it is made entirely in Jekyll. This is how it looks like, and throughout this tutorial series we are going to build a sample blog that looks like this website. So when we get started, we need a basic directory structure. Jekyll needs you to store your files according to a specific directory structure, and now we are going to create one for ourselves. So create a new folder and call it underscore includes. This folder is used to store partial files, which we simply include in our layouts. You can consider this as a collection of code snippets that you will reuse later. I will go into more detail on this later. Now create another new folder and call it as underscore layouts. This folder is used to store templates that specify how the content on your site is displayed in the browser. For example, there will be a template for your home page, one for your post page, one for your page, and one for your list of posts, that is your blog page. So if you see my website, I have this as a home page. This is I'm using a layout called master, and this is the blog page. Blog page this shows a list of pages, sorry, posts, and this is a blog layout, and there is a post. Every post will have its own template. This is the post layout, and I also have pages like this. This is this is a normal page which has a page layout, and I also have another layout for tutorials. So this tutorial will contain contents. So it is up to you that you use what layouts you want. So now create another new folder and call it underscore data. This folder is used to store configuration files of your site, excluding the global configuration file which we are going to create later. In Jekyll, the configuration files are in YAML format. We will actually use this when we are creating our navigation menus. Now create another new folder and name it underscore posts. This folder is used to store your blog post. Though the posts can be in Markdown, textile, or even HTML throughout this series. I will be using Markdown format for the post. Now create another new folder and call it underscore drafts. The drafts are just unpublished posts. Though this is often used by advanced bloggers, I tend to simply publish the site only when posts are completely written. So I am not going to cover drafts in this series, but if you want to use them, you can simply use as they are very similar to the post. Now go create another new folder and name it as underscore plugins. Sometimes you may feel that Jekyll is limiting you on a feature, as with any other tool of the same category. But luckily for us, people created plugins that extend the functionality of Jekyll. These plugins are simply Ruby scripts which come in the format of .rb, and you simply paste these files into this plugins directory and they will be activated automatically for you. But there is a small caveat with these plugins. That is, some of these plugins do not work when you are hosting your blog using GitHub pages. So this series will not be using any plugins and we will do everything from scratch. Now comes the global Jekyll configuration file. So now create a new file, name it a text document and name it as underscore config.yml. When Windows asks to change the extension, click on S. This file is in the YAML format and allows us to specify the configuration options that apply to everything in our site. There are a large number of options, of which I am only going to explain a small subset here in this video. We will be learning other options when we come into their need. Alternatively, you can read up on the online documentation of Jekyll with the link given in the description of this video. One thing you need to make sure is not to use the tab characters. You should only use spaces. If tabs are used, Jekyll will crash. Now open up the configuration file that you have just created with in an editor like Notepad++, so that you get the advantage of syntax highlighting. First, let us define the settings of our localhost Jekyll server. The lines that start with a hash are comments in YAML format. Local host Jekyll server settings. So the first setting is host colon. This host will be the IP address that this server will start from. You can use any IP address that you want, but I'm going to use it as 0.0.0.0.0. That is 4 zeros. This is localhost by default. And then your needs, the Jekyll server needs a port to run on. So type in port, and this port is I'm using it as 80. So there may be other applications in your system that run different servers on different ports. So something like if you are using Java, such as you can have a Tomcat server, or if you are trying to use PHP, you will be having something like Apache server or Nginx server, or you can also have Ruby servers that come with Rails installer and other things. So make sure that if you do have any other things, either close those other applications before starting the Jekyll server, or change this port number so that this port number is not being used by any other existing servers. So for now, for me, I am not having any other servers running. So I'm fine with the port number 8080 or the default port. The default port that comes with Jekyll is 4000, but I'm very much fine with 80. So now we we are we have successfully configured our Jekyll server settings, and now we are going to define our basic block details. So start up with another comment: basic block details. So the basic block details will have three properties. One is the title. Every block will have a title or a name, and a description will have a description of our block, and we'll have a permalink or the structure of our blog posts. So we will be defining these three things now. So first, to start with title, I am going to name my blog as my awesome blog, and the description is simply the same: my awesome blog made with Jekyll. And now the permalink. So we are going to define a permalink like this: permalink, and a permalink starts with a slash and colon year slash colon month slash colon title slash. So this is how we are going to structure our blog posts. Suppose you have written a post named blah 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 on February 8th, 2015, then the URL of that post will be the localhost or your website location or domain slash 2015, that is the year, slash 02, that is the month, slash blah hyphen blah slash. This is how the post will appear on your server. Now finally, we need to specify our markdown processor and our syntax highlighter. Jekyll has many processors, many text processors available, but my favorite of those is the default markdown processor. So markdown, and it is crammed down. The advantage of using crammed down is it does support markdown extra, so that we can define tables or we can add css such as css classes or ids to any element directly in our markup. And now we need a syntax highlighter if you are going to post code in your blog. It is not exactly necessary if you are going to use some client side JavaScript based syntax highlighters like the syntax highlighter or the Google's code prettifier, but Jekyll also gives inbuilt syntax highlighters like pigments or rouge. Pigments also has a lot of available languages, but it is has a dependency on Python. But there is also rouge, which is Ruby, but it supports a very less thing. So type high highlighter colon rouge. So that completes the creation of our directory structure. So go and save your config.yml file. To actually show something, we need an index page on the site. So let us create a sample file called as index.md in the project directory. So create in another new file and name it as index.md. This is going to be our home page, our blog's home page. So open it up, and a page needs some front matter which indicates Jekyll that the page should be transformed. This front matter can also be used to override some Jekyll default config options. So the front matter starts with 3 dashes and ends with 3 dashes on separate lines. And in between these, you can you can con- you can provide configuration options that override the default options provided in the config.yml file, and this is in the YAML format again. So we are going to define two properties for this page, that is the title and the permalink. So the title is home and the permalink is s slash, that is this is going to be in the direct root of our server. So let's now add some content to it. So we will first start, as this is the first introduction to the markdown. I will show a default markdown. So hash heading 1. This is some blah 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 text, and this is bold, and this is italic, and again this is bold, italic, bold and italic text. Okay, now we are going to create some text, and we are going to show some code. So we will be using some liquid tags that starts with a left brace and a percentage symbol, and the tag name is, of course we are going to highlight code, so it is called highlight, and we need to specify the language, and I am going to specify it as Java, and close that with again another percentage symbol. And now the highlighting ends with another tag called end highlight, end and highlight and percent. So whatever between these goes into a pre-block and gets highlighted. So let's get something like a small function, public void who, and it does nothing. Okay, now we'll save this. Before we see the site in action, we need to build the site and start the server. So open the command prompt instance and enter this following command: Jekyll space serve space double dash watch. This builds the server and starts watching the root server directory for any changes that we make to our source files. So if Jekyll detects any change, or whenever we save any other file that is in our project root directory, Jekyll rebuilds the site and automatically the server will be updated. So press enter, and you can see that the site has been generated. Now to view this site, here you are going to see a server address, but since this is a local host, I am just going to enter local host, and see this is heading 1. Okay, this is bold, italic and bold italic, everything is fine, but we are not seeing the syntax highlighting. So if you actually inspect this element, you can see that it is already in language. This is keyword, this is keyword type, this is name function, this is some symbols, it is a opening brace, it is a comment one, it is a closing brace, and the syntax highlighting is there, but it doesn't appear just because we didn't have a CSS. What we can do to this is you can simply add a CSS file and that gets applied to this. We will see more on that in the next tutorial. To close the server, close the browser first and go to the command prompt instance and press Ctrl C. When you get a prompt like terminate batch job, reply with a capital Y. And when you press enter again, the server will be closed and you are now simply close everything. This is all there for this second part of this tutorial series. In the next part, we will be creating a responsive template for our blog using Bootstrap. So thanks for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe. And see you soon in the next video.